I recognize that, hey, look, and that's also like a conflict for me too. It's just like, well, I don't live here anymore. Sometimes I want to live here. I don't come here as much anymore because my parents were displaced after Katrina. So my relationship with my own city has changed because of some other disaster. But I would like to think so. I would like to think that those things coming down allow for other people to come here and feel welcomed, right? I would like to think that those things coming down allow spaces like this to exist, right? I would like to think that when we are consciously as a city really trying to grapple with our past, that it will become a more welcoming city, that we would have less division, but look, I'm not going to kind of sugarcoat that there's still tons of inequities. I think the biggest thing in the book with these ideas is that the wealth gap is still there, right? Taking down a monument is not going to fix the wealth gap until we take down this monument and then take that next step. And the conversation is like, oh, we took this down because we oppressed you, and now we actually owe you something that we never paid you back. It still baffles me. I still have this surreal moment. It's like, well, wait a minute. Like, this country was built on free labor by people who still live here, that people who can trace that their ancestors work here for free. So why haven't we been compensated when we can send billions of dollars to fund genocide and other wars that don't have anything to do with us when we created this country? Like, I still don't get that. And I'm still going to, for the rest of my days, have that conversation, keep asking that question. So tell me again when you're gonna repay us or repair this. Like, tell me again when that's happening. And so I think that's what this book is about, is just like the steps. These are steps to get to that next conversation, right? Juneteenth is cool, but we still have Columbus Day. And it's like, okay, well, let's, MLK is cool, but we're still honoring Thomas Jefferson, right? And Richmond Richmond, I would argue, is like New Orleans and has taken a huge leap to take down a lot of its Confederate monuments. And I go to Richmond in the book and I walk these streets and I have this similar experience. It's like, wow, this was the seat of the Confederacy. This was the capital of the Confederacy, Richmond, Virginia. And so you go there and you see that these things have been taken down, and you see, I think there is real progress. I think people start to feel change.
What is that next step? We talk about it, you highlight it in the book, but what is that next conversation? Where would you like to see that conversation go? Like, if individuals, they read your book, they say, okay, I've become aware of how these symbolic gestures could lead to real progress, but I need to know, what is that next step?
To be honest with you, I think the next step is the people in power have to decide that they're willing to let some of it go. Right. And I think that we have to keep pushing the people in power to be like, hey, maybe it is time, right? The global majority actually deserves what is owed to them. Like, you are actually not the majority anymore, right? Like things are starting to shift. And look, I don't know how many generations it's going to take, but I only have one life, and I really want to live the best life I can while I have it. And so I would like to be as free as possible.
How do you get powerful people to succeed power?
I mean, I don't know. I don't. It's like you got to shoot them. I don't know. I don't know. I don't advocate violence. I don't want to say that. I'm not an advocate of violence. I'm being facetious here. But look, I think you got to continue to work it at every angle. You got to be diplomatic. You got to meet people where they are. You got to kind of continue to show. I think one of the biggest things that bothers me about where we are is the movement of banning books and banning education, and really trying to avoid what is and what was. And so I think education is always going to allow people to arrive at their own answers. And I think there's a lot of well-meaning people in power who are unaware how white supremacy is also injuring them. Because white supremacy is not just about white people. I think that's the thing that they think like, oh, it's Ku Klux, the KKK doesn't exist anymore. No, white supremacy is about systems. It's about systems that create environments where a Black woman is more likely to die in childbirth than any other person. It's like, why is that the case, right? white supremacy is that Black people are find themselves in jail more than any other people. We don't commit more crimes. No, we're just more criminalized. Right. And so I think those are the systems. It's not about white people. It's about the systems that have been created to keep us oppressed.
I love what you say in terms of how do you gain that power. You went to education. And one of my favorite people in the history is Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela says that the most powerful weapon in the world to change the world is education. It's not a gun, it's not a bomb, it's not a knife, it's education. You're an educator.
Yeah.
Right now, you're doing amazing things right now in the field of education. You talked about the book bans, you talked about educating individuals in terms of self-identity, self-reflection, making them aware of the hidden racism. Talk a little bit more about the things you're doing in education, your students, that experience, about how that's being reflected and what you hope to gain from that.
Yeah, really good question. I think the biggest thing about education is really giving people the tools and to walk away, right? To step aside, right? I think that one of the biggest lessons I've learned as an educator that is never about me. We're doing this together. It's really, I'm trying to help you find yourself, right? And I'm going to give you the tools. I'm going to give you the directions. I'm going to give you the books. I'm going to give you the paths, the things that you can kind of study and learn from. But it's about you, right? Education is really about self-awareness, self-actualization. Like, I can't do it for you. You have to kind of want to change. And so I think it's just about my approach. And I think this book really is about trying to educate us all, like really trying to have our perspective changes. People asking like, what's the message that you want people to take from this book? I want you to leave this book changed, meaning that your eyes will always be open, you know, when they were potentially closed. Like, it may be hard for you to walk past a statue again. It might be hard for you to walk past and not consider a street sign or a school name, right? Or question why a book is banned. Like, what is really actually at stake here? Or what is this holiday about? Like, I want you to really question the systems around you. And I think that's what it is. I ask questions and I try to help you find your own answers. I think that's what a good educator does.
John Henry Clark says that powerful people cannot afford to educate the people they oppress, because once you educate them, they will no longer ask for power, they will take power. With so much opposition, not just the book bans, but the curriculum changes in the schools of removing Black history, rewriting Black history, rewriting the entire just fabric of how historical events have played out in society, equipping them with the tools, the self-actualization, saying, okay, I'm giving you this hammer, I've taught you how to use it, but you learn how to cultivate the strength of that on your own. Should we be doing, as Black educators, should we be doing more rather than just saying, I'm gonna give you the tools and let you operate on your own? Should we be doing more in guiding them on how to break down these oppressive systems?
I would say yes and no again. I think sometimes the idea, the quest for more, this lack of satisfaction or being satisfied or being sated is also a symptom of white supremacy, right? Is this idea of overworking, feeling like you always have to overachieve. But I'm really encouraged, like even in Florida is one of the worst places educationally right now in terms of like what they're banning. But in Florida, I've seen some really awesome things where Black educators are getting with Black students and they're having Black history schools on Saturday. And I think that's what it is. We have to kind of go back to those spaces. I went to UNO 2 years here before I transferred to Morehouse. And I have an experience in the book where I'm at UNO that I'm reading this book called Jane Eyre. It's a classic book. People are forced to read it in high schools. And I talk about this experience of having an awakening of sorts, and reading this book and realizing, okay, this is not for me. It also has some racist ideas. Then I go to Morehouse and I have this incredible experience, like, oh, wait a minute, like, not that their utopias ever exist or perfect places, but that was close, and I think these, HBCUs, these Black spaces, when I went there, I realized, took a step back, I was like, wait a minute, like most of my family went to HBCUs. Like, I grew up in a Black city. Like, I was taught by Black people. Like, there's so much significance in being taught by your own. And it's hard to kind of quantify the benefits of that. And I went to Morgan State, another HBCU, and I had that similar experience. It's just like, wait a minute, like I would not be the person I am today if I didn't go to Morehouse. 100%. I would probably be working a job stuck in like some rat race of white supremacy, maybe even, living in New Orleans and thinking I'm happy, but somehow probably, depressed and not really realizing that I haven't achieved what I should have. That makes sense.
Yes, we're coming up on time, so I want to leave some time for questions and answers. So please, is there anyone in the audience that has a question they would like to ask Irvin?
Don't be shy.
Please
I'd
don't be
like
shy.
to continue with education as an educator myself all my life. New York City,
Mhm.
public schools there. A big concern was Martin Luther King Day in June 19, that we were out on those days and not in school having education.
Mhm.
A lot of Black principals I had, teachers, were kind of upset about that because we shouldn't be out having fun and getting drunk. We should be in school listening to these people are.
Yeah.
As an educator, as you're talking about education in the future, certainly I think losing that Anglo-Saxon history in the schools and having the students learn more. The book banning in Florida keeps me away from Florida. Texas had different books. I'm not crazy about their school system.
Yeah.
That there has to be, I think, a large evolution where maybe you go back to a segregation, because some of the best schools that the South had was after the Civil War,
Yeah.
when it was only Black schools.
Yeah.
And white women came down and they had a solid education, and they were probably the most educated Blacks at that point.
I think
And they went through Reconstruction and became senators and governors and mayors, and all of that started to really blossom until it stopped, and it blew up. But that need for education is crucial. Having seen it in New York, having taught in private schools in New England, and then in public schools in New York, seeing the hunger of the students in New York City. I was the only white person in those classes.
Yeah.